So I'm sure there are questions. I covered a lot of ground there. So Karen, start throwing them my way.
There are a lot of questions, Donna. So yes. But I have to tell you, I was really happy to hear that there are no recertifications or bridges that are going to happen.
Yes, no bridging.
Yes, I was like, whew, okay, good. Perfect. Yes.
Right.
So Stephen's asking, is VeriSM to ITIL what SAFe is to agile?
Well, I understand how you're making the analogy, because what SAFe does is look at how to scale agile practices in an enterprise. So from that standpoint, VeriSM looks at how to elevate service management practices up to the enterprise. I think where it maybe differs a little bit is that, again, VeriSM's not introducing processes, specific processes. What it is saying is that, look, you're still going to use ITIL processes, and you're going to use DevOps or COBIT, or you're going to use these other frameworks. They have a role to play in your organization, and what the management mesh does is help you figure out what role they in fact have to play. So I kind of get what you're saying is like, yeah, it does compare from the standpoint that we all have to think about things from the enterprise standpoint, but it doesn't necessarily introduce a different set of practices or a different set of processes. And I just, I kind of put a check mark on the slide to show you kind of the specific processes that we talk about in ITSM for DevOps. And, 65% of you said you're currently working on streamlining and re-engineering your processes for DevOps. So for those of you who are going through this is the class for you. It is a non-certification class. So that really gives us the luxury of just kind of talking about your organization and the challenges that you're facing, and kind of doing a lot of sharing about what's happening in the industry without having to have the notion of a test hanging over our head, which I always enjoy teaching those types of classes. So we hope to see you there. All right, Karen, what else?
Okay, so Marie asked this question, and when you did have that management mesh slide up, and she said, isn't governance part of an operate model and doesn't necessarily sit outside?
Well, let me go back. So it underlays, right? So it's not, you can see like this big gray circle is like underlaying everything. And the service management principles are underlaying everything. So it's not, the intention is not that it sits outside. The intention is that it's ever present, and it's guiding, right? Governance and our service management principles are guiding the decisions that we make about how to approach this management mesh. Hope that makes sense. So I agree, it's not outside.
Yes.
It's there, it's ever present, it's guiding what we do.
Okay, great, thanks. Ryan is asking, if DevSecOps is accepted, does that mean rugged DevOps is gone?
Well, okay, so this is Donna's kind of description, Donna's little from the mouths of babes description of the two. They actually take different approaches. So what rugged DevOps does, and please, if I get this wrong, just forgive me. What rugged DevOps does is look at how we develop software, developing software in a way that makes that software defendable from the start. So it has to do with the development practices. And again, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but it has to do with how we develop the software itself. What DevSecOps says is we've got to engage security throughout the life cycle, throughout the continuous delivery pipeline, and embed security. So whereas historically we did development, we maybe did some QA testing, and then, like, last but not least, we looked at things from the security perspective, and unfortunately security often got pushed aside in the rush to go into production. What we're looking at now is security starting to embed policies as code in providing policies as code that are used throughout the development lifecycle. And then also the security testing is continuous testing and automated testing, just in the same way that QA testing is. So one has to do with how software is actually developed, and the other has to do with how we ensure security across the pipeline. So they're both really still relevant. One's not going away. But with DevSecOps, what we still saw was that despite the fact that you saw organizations say they're doing, and I'm using air quotes here, DevOps, they're doing DevOps, security wasn't engaged at all. And so it's like, well, then no, you're not doing DevOps if you're not engaging all your stakeholders. Or they were still doing manual testing, right? They weren't doing continuous testing. And so it's like, well, no, then you're not doing DevOps, right? If you're not engaging those other stakeholders. But DevSecOps really very much acknowledges the need to shift left, right? All of our security activity and embed it earlier in the pipeline.
Thanks, Donna.
And I'm sure somebody out there is going like, oh, Donna.
I'm actually looking at them. I'm actually looking to see if they're chatting in to see if there's anything coming behind that. And there's nothing. I'm waiting to see. But
you're a real expert in this area. Hopefully you can be forgiving and just go like, well, see, she's pretty close to
right?
what it is.
Or you can clarify it for us, people.
I'm not a security professional, so I'm giving you the Donna from the mouths of babes description of all of that.
Yes. Okay. All right. Santoshi has a question. He says, you mentioned management mesh and that organization will use multiple best practices and frameworks. We are ITIL focused, and what recommendations do you have as VeriSM and DevOps? How does one get started there?
So the fact that you're ITIL focused is a good thing, right? Because you already understand what service management is all about. So, I mean, I'm going to just kind of take it, I'm going to go back to talking about it from an education standpoint, because it's kind of what we do. So if you're ITIL focused, then you really already have been exposed to these concepts of, what is a service and what does a service culture look like? So you may find that a good way to get started is just, send someone off to a VeriSM Plus class, because that's going to let you learn about the VeriSM model. It's going to expose you to some of these other practices. So maybe your focus has been on ITIL, but in some other part of your organization, they're already looking at agile, or they're starting to already introduce lean principles. And what you need to understand is how now to bring all of that together. So that's where these progressive practices come into play, and also some of the newer technologies that are emerging and really starting to impact organizations today. I think the reality is very few organizations today can say, well, Agile doesn't have anything to do with us, or, I don't know, big data doesn't have anything to do with us. I think the reality is that you might say yet relative to some of those things. But really, in order to survive and to be competitive, we need to, if nothing else, be learning about these practices and understanding these technologies so that we can start to think about how could they relate to my organization? How can my organization benefit from them? So the fact that you're ITIL focused is awesome, right? You've already got that service orientation under your belt, and now it's what VeriSM does is kind of help you bring other practices and other technologies into the mix. I hope that answered the question.
Yes. And Marie is asking, there seems to be a misconception in our organization that if you automate, you don't need process. What have you observed in this space? Go ahead, Donna.
So what I would beg the question is, what is automation, right? Automation is a repeatable process, right? All you've done is take a repeatable process and you've let a computer do it for you. Forgive me for those of you who've heard me say this before, if you're doing things wrong and you automate them, you'll do them wrong faster, right? So what organizations really do need to understand is that they need to first look at the process itself and streamline as much as possible, eliminate the waste from it, ensure that that process is in fact repeatable, and then you can apply automation to it. So it begins with the process, and really it ends with the process. It's just a matter of who's doing the process. Is it a human being or is it a computer? And process improvement becomes even more critical, because again, if you have automated a process, the biggest mistake you can make is to think like, okay, we don't need to worry about that anymore. Well, your environment's going to change. Your priorities are going to change. Maybe your practices are going to change, and that's really going to require you to go back and look at those automated processes and improve them in the exact same way that you need to be improving those processes that you're handling manually today. So here's the mantra: if you're doing things wrong and you automate them, you'll do them wrong faster.
Marie commented exactly, and Brian said you can't automate something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. You have to make it repeatable. That's what processes give you, is a repeatable set of activities. And until you understand what that repeatable set of activities is, you can't automate it.
Thanks, Donna. And Cynthia's asking, will IT service management be going more toward VeriSM?
Well, VeriSM is an approach, right? So there's no going to or going away from. It's really just an evolution. And what VeriSM, and remember, VeriSM it's not a process framework. So what VeriSM's not trying to do is take you away from anything. It's not trying to replace anything. And anybody who says to you that it is, they don't understand what VeriSM is about. What VeriSM really is just challenging you to do is take it up a level, right? And understand that service management principles and service management practices are no longer just confined to the walls of the IT organization. HR can benefit from good service management practices. Sales and marketing can benefit from good service management practices. Everybody in an organization today has to focus on delivering services that are of value to our customers. And that's really kind of the very definition of what service management is all about. So it is elevating things up a level, but it can't do it on its own, right? VeriSM's not a framework. It's not a set of management practices, right? It relies on you in your organization introducing whatever management practices are relevant to your specific organization in order to achieve those service management goals. So it's a new way of thinking, it's a new way of working, but it's not evolving us. It's challenging us to continuously improve, as opposed to encouraging us to move away from one thing or another. It's not replacing anything.
Greg commented, interesting that VeriSM takes IT service management back to its original service company roots. It's the circle of life.
Yeah, yeah. For those of you who are out there who are ITIL experts and you've been at the, ITIL game for a long time, it really is. You're going to look at VeriSM and some of you are just going to go like, haven't we been talking about this forever? And the reality is we have, but the message hasn't gotten across for whatever reason, right? Except that the message hasn't necessarily gotten across. And so what VeriSM is doing is absolutely taking concepts that aren't necessarily new, right? But are kind of articulating them in a little bit of a different way so that we can bring those messages out and make those messages a little bit clearer. So embrace it from that standpoint, that it's a new way of saying some of the things we've said before. One of the things I say in one of my books is that innovation isn't always introducing something new. Sometimes innovation is something newly introduced. A concept that's been around for a long time gets applied in a new way. Lean has been around forever, right? but we are now starting to understand how to apply lean to software delivery. So it's kind of a new way of thinking about and articulating concepts that have absolutely been around for a while. And that's okay, right?
Right. Anthony's saying, Anthony has read your book, Donna, the
Thank you.
Service Management Process Design Guide, where you list yourself as a certified process design engineer and an ITIL expert. And Anthony says that he's a certified process design engineer about to become an ITIL expert. So congratulations to you, Anthony, on that. And,
yes.
And his question is regarding the mesh and new cert tracks, what's the next step to keep myself highly marketable?
So I love that you asked this question, because I firmly believe that if you're going to walk around calling yourself an ITIL expert, you really do absolutely need to understand DevOps, and you need to understand VeriSM, because they're both going to influence IT service management going forward. I have said this before. I was a change manager at one point in my career, and sometimes when I look back and look at some of the practices I put in place in organizations, I'm a little bit embarrassed now that I understand DevOps. And I only say a little bit embarrassed because once you know better, you do better, right? DevOps, once I really understood DevOps, it changed how I thought about change management, as an example. And so this is just part of ongoing education. You know, when you achieve a certification, like when you achieve a level like ITIL expert, then you have to know that the learning, you hopefully embrace the fact that the learning won't stop there. And you're a lifelong learner. You know, hopefully you're already a lifelong learner. So the more you can learn about DevOps, the more you can learn about VeriSM, the more you're going to be able to meet the needs of your organization or your client organizations, because they're all really relevant in today's world. So the good news is you know, maybe get to go to Plus, right? Because you're already, you've already got an ITIL Foundation certification, but it doesn't hurt you, right? To get your hands on the book. And I don't think I really clearly stated this. The VeriSM certification is actually based on a publication called VeriSM, a service management approach for the digital age. It's available on Amazon.com. So there is a publication that it's based on, and you know, if nothing else, start with getting your hot little hands on the publication and starting to, you know, familiarize yourself with the concepts.
And thank you for that, Donna, because Steve was asking the question, are there books available on VeriSM?
Yeah,
so
I did. And I apologize that I didn't, I had the picture there and everything, but yes, there is a publication available, and there is, there's going to be follow-on publications. So VeriSM was introduced by, I had it back here somewhere, the IFTC. And the IFTC is actually the International Foundation of Digital Competencies, in cooperation with, you know, lots of experts around the world. And if you go to verysome.global, you can see who those individuals were. But they actually are hard at work helping organizations to introduce the management mesh concept. And so we're going to be starting to see case studies come out. We're going to be starting to see more guidance on the how to, as we see organizations actually bringing these concepts to life, and introducing these practices in their organization. So expect to see, you know, subsequent publications that provide that more, that kind of next generation of, okay, and here's what it looks like, and expect to see it evolving.
Thanks, Donna. I have one more question for you. So if anybody else has any last minute questions, please get them in now. Steve wants to know, where can he get VeriSM training?
So you can soon get it from us. So we've got, it's in-house, it's in development. And those of you who know me, you know I'm a curriculum development manager for ITSM Academy. So this is my job. To bring these new courses into our portfolio. So we're going to come out of the gate with VeriSM Plus, because we recognize that a lot of you out there already have ITIL Foundation, or you do have, perhaps a ITIL Intermediate or ITIL Expert certification. And so you kind of want to quickly ramp up and learn what the model's about and what the management mesh is about. And then we'll follow very shortly with VeriSM Foundation. So be on the lookout. You're going to see very soon it get added to our website, and we'll be communicating to you that you can go ahead and sign up and come on in and learn more about it.
Thank you. There you heard it, right from our curriculum development manager. So thank you, Donna. And
if I might add, if you're interested in learning more about when we release that class, you can go to our website, ITSMacademy.com, and fill out a contact form. Go to the top, click Contact Us, fill out a contact form. We'll put you on a list. Oh, that's all.
Thank you, Eric. That's great. All right. Those are all the questions that I have, Donna. That was a very robust Q&A, I have to say.
No, I love that.
Right? That was great.
Yeah, I like it.
And again, for those of you that, I just want to remind you again that our next webinar is scheduled for Thursday, March 15th, when Brad Utterback, IT Service Management Consultant and Trainer, is joining us with his presentation, CSI, Status Quo or Status Woe. So we look forward to having you join us for that. And as you log out, please just take a minute to complete the post-webinar survey. It's just 2 questions. And one is the opportunity for you to tell us what topics you'd like to see at our future webinars. So please take a moment to do that. And Donna, thank you again. As always, it's a pleasure. And it was a fabulous, very informative, and very witty. I have to say, I was chuckling with some of your comments in the background. And lots of information, really. Like you said, there's a lot of rumors going on out there. And, we didn't know what was what, So thank you for putting this all together to give us some guidance here.
Oh, you're welcome. And thanks, everybody, for participating. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, and
if not in class, at a conference.
And Maria has listened to you before. She's saying, thank you. Great presentation, Donna. Excellent as always.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great job. So,
thank you much.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
See ya. Thanks so much.
ITSM Academy is a full-service provider of IT service management education. We develop all content in-house. That includes all ITIL education as well as process design, agile, and DevOps. Since 2003, we've trained and certified tens of thousands of students. At ITSM Academy, we believe that one of our important roles in the industry is to help organizations get buy-in for their IT service management programs. To assist you in your efforts, we are offering this webinar and many of our previous webinars to you and your team in a virtual environment at no charge. There's no selling involved. It's just our way of reaching out to the community to help organizations such as yourselves with your IT service management programs. So if you're interested in having us deliver this for you, just get in touch with me. You can email us at info@itsmacademy.com.